Well, very warm welcome to this celebratory day. And how long have we been waiting for this moment? Almost 2 years for some of you, where we have our graduates in front of me in the hall and behind me as well on the stage. It's wonderful to see them here. Most of them now embarked upon their careers, but very importantly, we have their families, their friends, their supporters, and they're sitting alongside their fellow graduates. And welcome to the Barony Hall. This is one of the jewels in the crown of the university estate. It's where we have our graduations. And over the course of last week and this coming week, we'll have 22 celebration events, catching up for those that graduated through the challenges of COVID. But of course, we were always intending, as soon as we possibly could, to bring you back here, because today's about reflecting on the fantastic achievements of these great people that sit before us, part of the Strathclyde family now. And whilst you're in rather austere environments here, please relax and enjoy yourselves. And when your sons, daughters, family members do come across the stage, please make them know that you're in the hall. And as well as politely applauding, you can let them know by other means as well. Within reason, of course. But it's been a great pleasure for us to practice the day and now come to today. And we're still observing, as most of you are, thank you very much for that, the appropriate distancing and the appropriate measures to keep ourselves and others safe. I've got this bit of furniture before me and the graduates. So as you come across the stage, colleagues, I'll cap you, but you'll be on the other side of this. This kneeler is a historical part of the university's equipment. I reckon, I'll give you an engineering approximation, I think about 160,000 people have knelt on this kneeler. And as how we used to do it, you would come across the stage, kneel on it. Now the principal or the chancellor would cap you. But we've become a lot more progressive since those days, and we stand, look at each other as I capped you. And I've knelt on this myself 3 times in 1978 for my bachelor's degree as a very talented 8-year-old boy. Let me tell you, there's not many people get their degrees as early in their lives. In 1984, when I got my master's degree, in 1990, when I got my PhD. So please don't kneel on it, but you're bypassing a very important historical part of the university's estate. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, graduates, I'm going to formally declare this celebratory event open, and I'm delighted to invite Professor Debbie Willison, Vice Dean Academic for the Science Faculty, to introduce each of the graduates. Relax and enjoy yourselves. Thank you very much.
Principal and Vice-Chancellor, in the name of the University and by the authority of Senate, I present to you these students for the degree of Doctor of Engineering in Applied Photonics, Jonathan Richard Crabb. For the degree of Doctor of Philosophy for Research in the Department of Computer and Information Sciences, Haya Mesfar S. Ashrahani. Nuf Mohammed S. H. Al-Sharif. Damien Anderson. Francis Breslin Davda. Ryan Colin Gibson. For research in the Department of Physics, Lee Hung Chloe Chung. Stuart Alexander Flanagan. Rosaria Gabriela Lena. Elena Pascal. Jacopo Suraci. Araceli Venegas Gomez. Samuel Williamson. Egle Zematite. In applications of Next Generation Accelerators, Karolina Zofia Kokurovic. For the degree of Master of Science in Advanced Computer Science, Hala Mohammed Ramadan Al-Faid. In Advanced Computer Science with Big Data, Kioma Ogonia Uzo Amaka. In Artificial Intelligence and Applications, Annie Rose Benzie. Joel Mafo Budu. James William Dutfield. Ala Mohammed Tahar Hassan El Obeid. Ria Mohammed Enad. Blaga Georgieva Becheva. Lewis Gordon Johnston. Hasnain Mansour. Frank Mitchell. Kanad Pathak. Kavitha Rajendran. Diptendu Roy. Jason Swan. In cybersecurity, Stephen William Hughes. Andrew Monteith. Louise Watson. In digital health systems, Marlene Harkis. Ross Gordon Mackenzie. Sune Kumar. Sune Kumar Matsadi. Jean-Noël Saba. In Information and Library Studies, Aidan Stirling Coffey. Nicole Louise Cook. Luca Filippi. Kim McBride. Jenna Louise Meek. Kirsty Morrison. Neil O'Sullivan. Rebecca Savannah Pye. In Information Management, Kudrat Baggy. William Graham Janis. Yelise Kalink. Veronica Onyunye Okafor. Victoria Spanu. In Software Development, Yasmin Shamshidi. Holly Marwick Best. Rachel Louise McMurray. In Applied Physics, Georgia Kiosalaki. David John Alexander Yates. In Nanoscience, Ian James Harley. Apostolos Evangelos Minopetros. In Optical Technologies, Andrew Whittington. For the degree of Master of Engineering in Computer Science, Aidan Thomas Bonner. Alan Vlad Bulai. Gordon Martin Clark. Michael John Davey. Thomas Hunt. James Queen. Theodora Zamfirescu. For the degree of Master of Physics in Physics, Megan Clapperton. Ben Crampsey. Lauren Docherty. Greg Stephen Govenlock. Brendan Patrick Hall. Callum John McPherson. Ross Phillips. Mariam Susan Satari. James Michael Abbott. Daniel John Bennett. J. Christopher. Cameron Sharp Elliott. Claire Laura Louise Getchell. Emma McCormick. Callum William Miller. Grace Margaret Ann Parker. Linnea Sophie Celine Svensson. Joanna Sina. In physics with advanced research, Angus Oliver Buck. Magdalena Hudick. In physics with international placement, Viola Ann Leask. With the degree of Bachelor of Science in Computer Science, Martin Alexandrov. Jahangi Aslam. Daniel Stanislavov Atanasov. Jack Bowden. Maxwell Gregor William Bowie. Courtney Ann Brown. Ross Craig. Robin Jack Dale. Douglas James Edington. Martin Gerard Dennis Harvey. Ian Henderson. Claudia Orvath. Maria Elizabeth Hughes. Sahil Jamil. Adam Katona. Shivam Qatar. Colette Louise Kinnaird. Stuart Lennon. John Cameron Lennox. Rory Alexander Campbell Lukens. Fiona McKenzie. Colin Andrew McCrory. Callum John MacDonald. Paul Michael McLaren. Aidan McPhailin. Dimitar Mihailov. Scott Frank Mora. Joshua Mulherin. Stuart Noble. James O'Donnell. Nellie Catherine Oliver. Iona Caroline Preston. Joshua Reed. Stuart Andrew Slattery. Heather Thorburn. Sean William Waters. Dominic West. Emily Joyce Brown. Paulina Kalinova Dimitrova. Lara Elliott. Alexander Fan. Delucia Francis Aloysius. Saeed Ahmed Khan. Thomas William Latham. David Michael Lewis. Cameron McKean. Jamie McCurdy. Anna McMonigal. Martin Rusev Mihailev. Stanislav Dayanov Minchev. Rachel Ann Moore. Darren Nealon. Stuart Nimmel. Emma Pearson. Plamena Plamenova Pekova. Hallie Rattray. Danny Chin Wei Chan. Monica Kornaszewska. Dominic McCullough. David Andrew McFadden. Alexander James McNeil. Jordan Mulhern. Adam William Sutherland. Elena Georgieva Dimitrova. In software engineering, Martin Philip Carlin. Patrick Heaston. Kieran Robertson. Kieran Francis Service. Ross Mackay. In physics, Christopher Barr. Caitlin Alice Bell. Rebecca McInnes Craig. Ewan Donald Dixon. Susan Kistenberger. Fiona Ailey Una MacDonald. Abby McCallum. Megan Jane Reid McClelland. David Nichol. Charlie Ray Quack. Khadija Saguro. Fraser Thomas Barnard. David Campbell Callum. Sarah Carey. Megan Gill. Hazel Scout McIntyre. Lauren June Smith. Bethany Ann Thompson. Kyle Edward Livingston. Barnaby Elijah Hillman Williams. In physics with teaching, Scott Thomas Mackenzie. Megan Buckley. Andrew Darren Gurley. Jamie Cook Simpson.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's give the classes of 2020 and 21 a collective round of applause. So, once again, Strathclyde graduates, ladies and gentlemen, let me reiterate our sincere and warm welcome to this wonderful ceremony. A date that none of you will forget, and a day which some of you have been waiting almost 2 years for. It's recognised the years of hard work that you put in to earn your degrees, and now, at last, here you are in the Barony Hall. You're here to celebrate your achievements in front of your proud families, your friends, your supporters, and indeed your classmates. And today we welcome guests from all parts of Scotland, from across the UK, and of course from a wonderful international community too. So we're very delighted to have all of you here to join in the celebrations today. It's almost exactly 2 years ago to the week that the first bang of COVID-19 impacts hit society and hit institutions as well, including this one. It changed all of our lives personally and professionally. It had a profound effect on the university, the way that we work, the way that we teach and learn, the conduct of our research as well, and of course it prevented us from celebrating your graduation in person at that time. But everyone at Strathclyde has worked very hard over the past 2 years, first and foremost to look after the health, safety and well-being of our staff and our students, and indeed those that work in and around our campus, while we continue still to strive for a high-quality education and an excellent student experience. And that was in order to maintain the pursuit of our groundbreaking research, none less than the departments that are celebrated today, and also to operate our large and complex campus with around 30 buildings to keep open and to keep functional. And through all of this, I've been hugely impressed by the dedication, the professionalism, in many ways the vocation that my staff have shown through all of this, and indeed our students too, how you responded and adapted to the challenges. But of course, we were determined to make sure that our graduates had the chance to come back here when the opportunity arose to celebrate the awards of the degree, because it is undoubtedly the highlight of our academic year, and we didn't want to get that passing by unacknowledged. We wrote to more than 8,500 of our graduates through 2020-21, and we're delighted that we've been welcoming over half of them back to Glasgow, to the Barony Hall, to celebrate these achievements from across the UK and, of course, from across the world. And we should acknowledge, of course, the fact that you faced unique challenges brought about by the coronavirus pandemic. And I would confidently suggest to all of you that you represent a very special cohort of students, and that the classes of 2020 and 2021 will always be seen as Strathclyde vintage years. Many congratulations. Well done. As you well know, you faced disruption to the way that you had to learn, to your social lives, and to how you sat your examinations. And what's more, you've also gone out into the world and started your careers at a time of unprecedented challenge. At the back end of Brexit, COVID, and now we see the horrifying spectacle of what's happening in Ukraine, where all of you, Strathclyde graduates, on the stage here and before me, you're the next generation of leaders that should be challenging my generation, the generation of political and institutional leaders that we all have to work alongside. What we're seeing is unacceptable morally, politically and legally. We send our very best wishes and hopes for whatever can be taken out of the next few weeks and months to a speedy end to the conflict. I suspect it won't end quickly, but we need to reach out and show that degree of solidarity, as we have done in this campus, flying the flag of Ukraine in several parts of this campus, lighting up our buildings. And on a practical note, and to credit our students, our student executive, setting up a donation centre, and this university working strongly with the rest of the sector, reaching out to academics at risk. And just last week, in my capacity as President of the Royal Academy of Engineering, the UK's 4 national academies came together with the UK government and an entity called CARA, that's the Council for At-Risk Academics, to set aside a multi-million pounds investment to bring academics and their families so that they can pursue their careers safely in the UK. And you've seen the generosity across the UK, in particular in Scotland, as us opening up our doors to those that need our help. So bear that in mind. This happens because of bad decision making, but it can be cured by good decision making. And all of you, as you leave this hall, remember you're not only excellent Strathclyde graduates, but you're global citizens whose opinion, whose moral compass, and whose professionalism can make a difference, singularly and in aggregate. But in terms of your own experience, you have shown courage, determination, resilience, and adaptability. And of course, I would always like to claim that your subsequent success has been down to you being Strathclyders at heart and the product of useful learning, our motto that's been around for 226 years since we were established during the Scottish Enlightenment. That was in 1796. John Anderson, our founder, who was a natural philosopher or physicist, as we would have it today, he established in his will the requirement to have a place of useful learning set up here in Glasgow, stimulated and inspired by Benjamin Franklin, who was a correspondent and friend of his, who set up the University of Pennsylvania in 1751 under the banner of useful knowledge. So that's what this is all about. Strathclyde, great education, great experience, and then opening the doors of this hall today and let you get out there into the world and make a difference. And in 1964, we got our Royal Charter, having been established as the UK's first technological university, something we can be proud of, something that we carry forward still, that beacon of technological excellence across 4 great faculties: science, engineering, business and humanities and social sciences, and doing that in a socially progressive way, something that's distinctive for us. And with that heritage, and be proud of it, and as you forge your new careers, I'm sure some of the parents were cheering because you're just about off the payroll now. I don't know if you're entirely off the payroll, but the university's values are simple but authentic, about being people-oriented, innovative, collaborative, ambitious and bold. And that last one's important, about risk-taking, about challenging yourself, about really making a difference. All of that will stand you in good stead. And in a short while, as we process out of the hall, and we'll go to a reception just nearby, you will be invited to join the academic procession, which is really a symbol that you are no longer students. You haven't been students for some time now, but you're now full members of the international Strathclyde community, one that numbers over 180,000 worldwide. Now that's what I call impact. And your faculty has a fantastic catalogue of excellent contributions, too many to mention in full, but I'll pick out a few highlights. The physics department and the university hosts the Fraunhofer Centre for Applied Photonics. That is the only one in the UK. It's part of the German innovation system and connected to the research base. Just attracted almost £7 million from Scottish Government for its next phase of activity, recognised as a world-class centre of excellence, working with Strathclyde academics and other academics across the country, looking at light-driven technologies for industry across a wide range of sectors, from quantum technology to healthcare, life sciences, renewable energy, navigation, communications and space. And in computer science, not only great technology and underpinning science, but the impact in society. According to a survey conducted here at the university, more than half of adults in the UK disagree that digital services are an adequate replacement for traditional libraries. That was an interesting outcome for me. The survey conducted in partnership with YouGov found that while the numbers of people using digital library services increased by over 10% in the past year from pre-pandemic levels, they still amounted to only a fifth of all library users. So that human engagement, my generation, I'm very tactile, I like to read things, I do use digital technology of course, but that was an interesting finding. And Professor Martin Dawson of Physics Department, was named as the 2021 winner of the Global SSL Award of Outstanding Achievement, and that was for his contributions to the field of micro-LEDs, or light-emitting diodes research, something that we see in lighting systems all the way through to industrial applications. The faculty has also been working on a robotic boat that's been used for the first time to survey fish populations around oil platforms in the North Sea. And that was part of a project involving the university looking at the effects of decommissioning of oil and gas structures on marine ecosystems. We also have Strathclyde researchers taking part in a study in which artificial intelligence was taught to learn to predict solar flux. Very important. You know, solar flares can cause real disruption electromagnetically to communications and power systems, and their results can be significant for the space industry too, as they can be used to develop tools to make more accurate orbit predictions. And research involving our colleagues at Strathclyde designed nanoparticles that can communicate with and slow the development of cancer cells. Measurement, science, underpinning technology, and then development of therapies and devices that can really make a difference. And out at the airport, as we're all going to start to get mobile again, you'll see two very large buildings that have sprung out of the ground. That's about £200 million investment. The Advanced Manufacturing Innovation District for Scotland. You'll see a large purple-roofed serrated roof. That's the National Manufacturing Institute for Scotland, and adjacent to it, the Medicines Manufacturing Innovation Centre, revolutionising the way that we make vaccines, medicines, get them to market even quicker, and driving jobs and economic value into Scotland at the same time. And for our CIS department colleagues, they're leading for the university our new health and care futures activities, the digital impact of patient care, about therapies, signal processing, data analysis, and so much more. So that is the context within which you're celebrating your degree awards today. Your successes and our success as a university is due to the efforts of our outstanding staff who are delivering our vision of Strathclyde as a leading technological university that is also socially progressive, making a positive difference to our staff, to our students, to the communities that we serve, and in the wider world. But of course, most of you now are pursuing your careers or further studies that you've set your sights on, and I do hope the past year or two have been the start of a very successful journey. And it's important for us to acknowledge that you have graduated from a university at a time when the world needs all the knowledge, the skills, the passion, and the commitment that it can muster to tackle major challenges, not least climate change. I think all of us were proud that our home city of Glasgow hosted, eventually because of COVID, the COP26 conference back in November. I had the privilege of being in the Blue Zone every day for a couple of weeks, engaging with politicians, with industrialists, with investors, fellow academics. And the Glasgow conference showed us that urgent action is required, that's for sure, but the global collaboration and innovation are key to creating and implementing the solutions to this crisis. And our university is working across all 4 faculties and our disciplines to address the technological, the political, scientific, economic and societal challenges that we face. And very importantly, you're all part of a system. Sometimes these global challenges feel overwhelming, but remember, every one of us makes a contribution in our daily lives, our consumption patterns, and I'm an engineer, so Patrick Valance, whom many of you will be familiar with, who spoke at the COP26 conference. I have the privilege of working with him on a regular basis, said that this can't be solved without a systems engineering and a scientific approach, keying into what all of you do, what all of you know. So in your private and professional lives, do all you can to work singularly and in concert to address climate change. But innovating and delivering these solutions form part of the university's core mission to make the world better educated, more prosperous, healthy, fair and secure, and to deliver against the UN Sustainable Development Goals. I had the privilege of welcoming former President Barack Obama onto our campus during that fortnight. We knew at relatively short notice that he was here, and of course you can't keep a secret on social media. He arrived rather discreetly, but he spent about 3 hours with us, and by the time he left, a crowd of about 600 had gathered to cheer him and to celebrate the fact that he was here, because he's still a very influential statesman, an elegant, a sophisticated, and a very open man. He was there to host a round table with young people who were climate activists. And he left the building, the new Learning and Teaching building, or the Colville building that some of you may remember, and he shouted out 2 words to the gathered crowds, and it was, "Get active." And I say to all of you, our graduates here in the hall today, get active. Get active in your career, get active in volunteering, have that driven approach to making a difference to the world. And certainly that's what Obama was encouraging us to do. And during the weeks of COP26, we also had the pleasure of having others on our campus. Alok Sharma, who was out on the campus, in fact, he still is president of COP until it hands over to Egypt later in the year. With other senior figures, including John Kerry, the US Special Envoy for Climate Change, Kwasi Kwarteng, the Secretary of State for Bays, and even Michael Bloomberg was in the city with us. I found out, to my pleasure, he's a fellow electrical engineer. So it shows you that engineers, scientists and technologists are making a difference to the world. So the world came to Glasgow in that fortnight, and your institution was one of the go-to places for visits, for engagements, and for meeting the thinkers, the students, and those that will shape the world going forward. So we are recognised as an institution where freedom of thought is encouraged, is valued, and an institution exemplified by tolerance and inclusivity, one which seeks to play a significant role in shaping the world that we live in through our teaching, our research, and most importantly, our biggest contribution to society is you, our graduates, the next generation of leaders, with your education, your ambitions, your energy, and don't forget that, and hold your head high, be proud of your personal background, be proud of your educational background, and get out there and make an impact. And we hope that you'll use the knowledge and wisdom that you've gained at Strathclyde to play a part in bringing people together, find common ground in our greater humanity, and to work together to build a brighter future, demonstrating Strathclyde's socially progressive values and ethos, and that's tolerance, pluralism, and a desire to make a positive difference. So, as we conclude, let me say we're really here to celebrate your achievements. We're very, very proud of you, as are your family. Stay in touch, let us know how you're getting on, and continue to contribute to Strathclyde. We still attract many first-generation students to Strathclyde. They need your support, they need your encouragement, they need your guidance. I was that student when I first came here, the first in my family to go to university, standing on the shoulders of my father and my mother and my 2 brothers. I was brought up in Govan, one of the shipbuilding parts of the city. And the motto of the city, very simple: nihil sine labore, nothing without hard work. So you're smart, you're energetic, you're accomplished. But remember, apply yourselves, because there is no substitute for that energy and that driven approach to make a difference. But now's the time, of course, to celebrate your achievements with your friends, your loved ones, your colleagues. So on behalf of the University of Strathclyde, congratulations once again to each and every one of you. I wish you every success for the future, and now I do hope you enjoy the rest of this very special day. Thank you very much. So, well done again. Now, just as I close the ceremony, we're going to process down the hall. You'll know where we are because we'll have a bagpiper leading the way. Once you've gathered, please be upstanding once I conclude. Please come out the hall. I suspect there'll be a few photographs taken outside the Barony Hall, but then come and join us at the new Learning and Teaching building, where there will be refreshments, there'll be cakes and God knows what else, but most importantly, there'll be company and lots of conversation. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, well done to all of you. We'll now conclude the ceremony and ask you to be upstanding. Thank you very much.